It started like many of my conversations with older patients do, quietly. James was a 72-year-old widower, the kind of man who kept his shirts neatly pressed and his opinions to himself unless invited. He wasn't the type to talk about personal things. But that day, he looked tired, not in the way of someone who had a long night, but in the way of someone whose body had been quietly fighting battles for a while. I asked him how he'd been feeling lately, and he hesitated for a moment. Then he said, "Doc, it feels like I'm catching everything now. A small cold knocks me down for a week. A cut takes forever to heal. And no matter how much I sleep, I never feel truly rested." There it was. The silent question I've heard in so many forms: why is my body acting older than I feel? James, like many men his age, was doing what he could. He walked daily, took his vitamins, ate well enough. But still, his body didn't seem to bounce back like it used to. And more importantly, he couldn't understand why. That's when I asked him a question most doctors never do. "James, how often do you allow yourself time to release? Not just rest, but real release, pleasure, tension, emotional buildup?" He looked at me, puzzled. "You mean sex?" he asked, almost embarrassed. I nodded gently. "Not just sex. I mean masturbation. Solo pleasure. Intimacy with yourself." He blinked. "That stopped after my wife passed. It just didn't feel right anymore. And honestly, I thought maybe I didn't need it anymore." What James didn't know, and what most men over 60 aren't being told, is that avoiding masturbation as we age isn't just about intimacy. It can have a direct, measurable, and surprisingly profound effect on the strength of your immune system. In fact, it may be one of the missing pieces in how we support our body's natural ability to protect and repair itself as we grow older. Because the truth is, your immune system doesn't just run on vitamins and willpower. It runs on balance, on rhythm, on chemical signals that tell your brain and body, we're okay. You can rest. You can heal. And one of the most powerful ways to send that message, naturally and consistently, is through mindful sexual release. Let's look at what happens inside your body during and after climax. Whether through sex or masturbation, the experience triggers a powerful cascade of responses in your brain and nervous system. Your heart rate increases gently. Your breathing deepens. And then, in the moment of release, your body floods with endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin, and most importantly for immune support, immunoglobulin A. Yes, your body actually releases more of this vital antibody after climax. And immunoglobulin A plays a critical role in your first line of defense, protecting mucous membranes, neutralizing viruses, and helping your immune system identify and remove pathogens before they ever cause serious harm. When men over 60 stop masturbating, either due to grief, shame, disinterest, or the quiet belief that it's no longer necessary, they may be unknowingly cutting off one of their body's most accessible sources of immune support. And unlike supplements or medications, this support doesn't require a prescription. It only requires you to listen to your body and return to it with intention and care. James had never heard this before. Not once in the decades he'd visited clinics and read health articles and followed the advice of experts. And honestly, why would he? This part of a man's health is rarely talked about in clinical settings, and when it is, it's usually framed around prostate health or sexual performance, not immunity. Not healing. But healing is exactly what was missing from James' life. He had stopped giving his body opportunities to relax deeply. He had stopped sending the signals that say, we are not in survival mode. We are not in danger. It's okay to focus on rebuilding now. And the immune system listens to those signals. I told James, gently but clearly, that if he was willing to revisit this part of himself, not for fantasy, not for distraction, but for renewal, he might be surprised at what his body could still do. That even after years of silence, his biology hadn't forgotten how to restore itself. It was simply waiting for an invitation. He laughed, a little nervously. "Well, Doc, that's not what I thought I'd be hearing at my age." But it was what he needed to hear. What so many men need to hear. That your touch still matters. That your body still responds. That your immune system, your skin, your energy, your very sense of resilience can be supported, not just by what you avoid, but by what you allow. And this doesn't just apply to men who are alone. I've spoken with married men, men in relationships, men with partners who love them but who have lost that private part of themselves over time. They may still be affectionate, still enjoy closeness, but the personal, inward connection has faded. And with it, a vital part of their internal rhythm. You see, your body is not simply a machine that runs on nutrition and movement. It is a system of signals, feedback loops, and hormonal balances that require care and attention in ways that aren't always visible. Pleasure, especially the kind you give to yourself with awareness and intention, isn't just a bonus. It's part of the biological language of longevity. And in part 2, we're going to dive deeper into exactly how this works. We'll talk about how your nervous system, endocrine system, and immune function all intertwine in a delicate but powerful dance. You'll learn why moments of climax can reduce systemic inflammation, how they support sleep, the other pillar of immune health, and why ignoring this part of yourself may be sending the wrong signal to your body over and over again. Because aging well isn't about rejecting the past, it's about returning to what's essential. And sometimes, what's essential is the very thing we were taught to ignore. So stay with me. The most surprising and most empowering truths are still to come. When James came back a few weeks later, something had changed, not drastically, but undeniably. He looked lighter. Not physically, necessarily, but emotionally. His eyes had a softness that wasn't there before, like something in him had loosened. And when he sat down, he said something most men don't admit aloud. "Doc, I didn't realize how much tension I was carrying until I let it go." What he was describing wasn't just relief. It was regulation. You see, the body isn't just a structure, it's a system. And one of its most vital systems is the one designed to keep you safe, your autonomic nervous system. It has two branches, the sympathetic, which handles stress and alertness, and the parasympathetic, which governs relaxation, digestion, and healing. Most people live their lives stuck in a loop of low-grade fight or flight. Especially in their later years. Not because there's danger around every corner, but because modern life, and silent grief, long-term pressure, unprocessed emotions, keeps the sympathetic system humming all day long. Now here's the key: orgasm, especially through mindful masturbation, is one of the few natural actions that switches you out of that fight or flight mode and into rest and repair. It's not just about feeling good in the moment. It's about giving your entire immune system permission to function fully again. Let's unpack how that works, step by step. During sexual arousal, your body prepares for release. Blood pressure rises slightly, breathing deepens, and the brain begins to flood with dopamine. This isn't a trivial surge, it's your brain's way of encouraging focus, pleasure, and anticipation. But at the moment of climax, the opposite happens: the body lets go. The parasympathetic system takes over, guiding your heart rate down, relaxing your muscles, quieting your thoughts. And here's the kicker: this is when your immune system gets its strongest signal that it can shift into high gear. Inflammation lowers. Cortisol drops. Natural killer cells, yes, those are real, they're part of your first line of defense against viruses and cancer cells, become more active. Immunoglobulin A, which guards the surfaces of your eyes, nose, and mouth, increases. Your body doesn't just rest, it repairs. And after 60, this matters more than ever. As you age, your immune system naturally becomes slower to respond. Wounds take longer to heal. Infections linger longer. The barrier between your body and the outside world becomes thinner. But that doesn't mean you're helpless, it means the way you support your immunity has to evolve. It's no longer just about food and movement. It's about lowering your internal stress signals consistently enough to give your body a chance to do what it already knows how to do: heal. James had never thought of masturbation as anything but a shadow of his younger years. Something that belonged to a different time in his life. But when he began approaching it with intention, care, and yes, even gratitude, his body responded. His sleep became deeper. The small infections he used to battle, cold sores, sinus flare-ups, stopped appearing as often. His mood lifted. And in his own words, he felt more alive than I have in a long while. But let's go even deeper. There's another layer most men overlook when it comes to immune function: sleep. And what's one of the most effective ways to fall asleep and stay asleep naturally after 60? You guessed it, sexual release. Not rushed, not shameful, but rhythmic and intentional. Orgasm releases prolactin, a hormone that plays a key role in regulating sleep-wake cycles. It helps your brain slip into delta wave sleep, the kind where your body regenerates tissue, consolidates memory, and flushes out toxins. And for men whose sleep has been fragmented for years, reintroducing regular release can mean the difference between tossing and turning, and waking up actually rested. There's also emotional immunity to consider. No, it's not a term used often in medical charts, but it's real. Emotional immunity is your ability to bounce back from stress, to not carry small wounds for weeks. And here's the truth: self-pleasure, when practiced without guilt, reconnects you to a sense of self-worth. That you're still here. Still capable of feeling. Of soothing yourself. Of experiencing wholeness, not from someone else, but from your own breath, your own presence. And that kind of emotional resilience strengthens your body. It lowers blood pressure. Improves digestion. And yes, it makes your immune system smarter, because it isn't wasting resources fighting off stress-related inflammation. Instead, it's tuned and ready to protect you from actual threats. I've seen this time and again. A man who reconnects with this part of himself starts walking taller. He speaks more slowly. His laugh returns. Not because he's reliving his youth, but because he's finally let go of the story that aging means disconnection. And if you're wondering, does this really apply to you? Maybe you've had health scares. Maybe you've been on medications that made you feel detached from your body. Maybe you've lost a partner, or been alone so long it feels awkward to even think about this kind of intimacy. Let me say this to you with all the compassion and experience I can bring: your body hasn't given up on you. Your nervous system still listens. Your immune system still adapts. Your breath still deepens when you give it space. And your touch, your own touch, still carries the power to tell your brain, your heart, and every cell in your body, we are safe. We are loved. We are alive. That's not New Age fluff. That's neurobiology. And it's your birthright. In the final part of our conversation, I'll walk you through how to build this into a sustainable part of your life. No guilt, no pressure, no awkwardness. Just a return to rhythm, to rest, and to the kind of quiet confidence that can only come from within. So stay with me. Because the final piece of this healing story is where everything begins to click, where practice becomes power, and where your immune system starts working with you again. By now, you've heard the science, you've walked through the stories, and maybe, just maybe, you've started to feel a shift in how you view this part of yourself. A sense that maybe what you've been told to hide or dismiss is actually something sacred. Something that, when treated with care, could hold one of the most powerful keys to your health, your energy, your very ability to heal and thrive at this stage of life. Because let's be honest, growing older isn't the problem. Disconnection is. When James and I had our final follow-up, months after that quiet conversation in my office, he was a different man. Not because he had changed on the outside, his wrinkles didn't disappear, his hair didn't magically grow back, but because he had reconnected with the part of himself he thought had gone dormant forever. He stood taller, laughed more easily, and, perhaps most tellingly, said this: "I don't feel like I'm waiting to get sick anymore. I feel like I'm building something again." That's what a resilient immune system feels like. Not perfection. Not invincibility. Just a steady, grounded confidence that your body is working with you, not against you. And that's exactly what you cultivate when you return to the gentle rhythm of mindful self-pleasure, not as an escape, not as a habit, but as a practice of healing. So let's talk now about how to make this part of your life, not just something you try once or twice, but something you build into your week, your evenings, your quiet moments. Something that becomes as normal and nurturing as brushing your teeth or preparing a cup of tea before bed. It begins with space. Not just physical space, but emotional space. Set aside a few minutes where you won't be interrupted. Where the lights are low, where your phone is off, and where your body feels warm and safe. Not hurried. Not expected to perform. Just allowed to be. Treat this like a ritual. Not a task to get through, but a return to self. Your hands don't just move for sensation, they move with intention. You breathe deeper. You slow down. You let the tension in your shoulders melt. And as your arousal builds, you focus on presence, not fantasy, not pressure, just presence. When you reach climax, don't rush to clean up or distract yourself. Let yourself feel what comes after. The warmth. The relaxation. The quiet hum of your parasympathetic nervous system doing exactly what it's supposed to do: rest, digest, repair, rebuild. That moment is the gateway. That's the physiological reset button most men never push. And when you do it consistently, gently, compassionately, your immune system begins to trust you again. It stops bracing for the next wave of stress. It starts rebalancing your hormones, regulating your sleep, increasing your antibody production, lowering your chronic inflammation. And that's when you begin to notice changes you can feel. You get sick less often. Your wounds heal faster. Your joints ache less. Your mind clears. You become more patient with others, and more importantly, with yourself. And if you're in a relationship, this practice can open new doors there too. It's not about hiding something from your partner. It's about showing up to them more fully. Because when you are grounded, calm, and rested, you have more energy to give, not just physically, but emotionally. You communicate more openly. You bring a softness to the relationship that might have faded under years of stress or routine. Many of my patients, once they reclaim this space for themselves, notice how it changes the way they touch, the way they speak, the way they relate. And those changes ripple out in beautiful ways. But what if you're not in a relationship? What if you've been alone for a long time, or you're healing from loss, or you're unsure how to even begin this practice after years of silence? Start small. Start without expectation. Your body might take time to respond. It may need coaxing, kindness, and patience. But it will respond. Because underneath everything, the years, the stories, the shame, is a body that still longs to feel safe. Still longs to be touched. Still remembers how to return to balance. And this is where aging becomes less about decline and more about depth. Because what you're building now isn't about performance, it's about wisdom. Your body may not move as fast as it once did, but it speaks more clearly. It tells you when it's tired, when it's stressed. And now, you have a way to respond, not with force, but with care. So tonight, or tomorrow, or sometime this week, don't wait for the perfect moment. Create one. Step away from the noise. Light a candle if it helps. Breathe deeply. And let yourself rediscover the simple, quiet power of your own presence. Let it be awkward if it is. Let it be new. But let it happen. Because the men who age with the most strength, the most clarity, the most joy, aren't the ones who chased youth. They're the ones who made peace with themselves. Who learned how to return to themselves. Who chose softness over shame. Presence over pressure. And healing over hiding. If this video gave you something, an insight, a question, a spark, I invite you to honor that. Click the like button. It helps spread this message to others who need it just as much as you once did. And please, leave a comment. You don't need to share your whole story, just let others know they're not alone. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear tonight. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. This isn't just a one-time conversation. This is an ongoing journey of learning, healing, and living fully at 60, 70, 80, and beyond. Together, we're rewriting the story of aging. With dignity. With power. And with truth. So take care of your immune system. But more than that, take care of your heart. Take care of your body. Take care of the parts of you that still long to be held, even if only by your own hands. Because you deserve health. You deserve peace. And you deserve to feel alive every single day you're given.